I'm super excited. I think we have some of the best storytellers here in the region, and it's an honor to welcome some of them to stage. Your moderator today, Danielle Lewis Jones. You got Tanya O'Rourke, Amber Jayanth, and Sherri Coolidge. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here.
Hello. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing this morning? Let me hear that one more time. How's everybody doing this morning? All right, much better. Well, good morning to all of you. We are so excited to be here. We're going to act like that didn't happen. Okay. We are excited to be here with all of you this morning to talk about executive presence and elevator speeches and how to present yourselves. And so with further ado, I am going to introduce this amazing panel who is so happy to be here with all of you today. So what they are going to do is introduce themselves and do their elevator speech for you. So to kick us off, we'll start with Tanya O'Rourke.
Oh, great, I get to go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya O'Rourke from WCPO TV. I'm the senior anchor there. I didn't practice my speech, so pardon me as I read it a little. I am your prototypical hometown girl. I was raised here in Cincinnati, and I'm constantly rooting for our city, the tri-state, the region to be the best it can be. I didn't just grow up here, I grew up in my newsroom. I learned virtually every role. I understand television media in this market extremely well. Coupled with that, after having kids, I took a break from television and went into public relations in Cincinnati, which helped me really refine my ideas of what creates a good story and a story pitch. And in my 29 years in local television, there are a few things that I haven't done. I've flown with the Thunderbirds, covered presidential elections, natural disasters, Super Bowl runs. That was fun. And produced documentaries, anchored breaking news, and regular everyday news every day. My organization serves Greater Cincinnati on air and the world online and on social media. And while our entire organization is focused on bringing news and information to the 2 million people that we serve here, I spend much of my time focusing heavily on the good things that are happening in our community. We call this Positively Cincinnati. Whether that's a person, an organization, a movement, it doesn't matter. If you're making an impact in our community in a positive way, I want to tell that story. So I provide a platform for all of you to tell the Tri-State what it is you or your organization is doing, why you're doing it, and why it matters to anyone that I get to speak to, whether that's on air, online, or on this thing, you know? So there are lots of ways to reach me. I wish my name is not spelled right. Thanks, Catherine Nero. I'm kidding, she said it wasn't her. But my email is torourourke@wcpo.com, which is TOROURKE@wcpo.com. Facebook, which is Tanya O'Rourke WCPO, and Instagram, Tanya O'Rourke 9. I am not a big phone call person at my desk. So other than that, so those are the best ways to reach me.
Thank you, Tanya. Let's give it up for Tanya. All right, next we'll have Amber introduce herself.
Hello, my name's Amber Jayanth. I'm a reporter and anchor at Fox 19. And honestly, this is not a career that I originally imagined for myself. When I went to school, I studied fashion and journalism with the thoughts of being a fashion designer and also maybe a fashion editor working at a magazine. And then I took my first internship at KPLR in St. Louis, which is where I grew up. And that opened up a whole new world for me. I was able to see things that I had never seen before, meet people that I would have never met before, and just everyday regular people, firefighters, nurses, people just struggling to make ends meet, and then just telling their authentic stories. And I was like, wow. And that moment I realized the power of a microphone and how you can use your microphone to give people a voice and tell their own stories and inspire different people. And that's when I changed my gears and I want to be a journalist. I want to be able to tell people stories and inspire people or give people hope or even just inform people, let them know what's happening in their community. And so that's when I felt like that's my mission and that's what I want to do. And everyone here has a story to tell. You know, you came from some type of journey, and being able to tell your story to me is a privilege. And I come in every day just excited to, who am I going to talk to today? Who am I going to meet today? And it's just, I always come home with just amazing stories like, guess who I met? I mean, it's just so much inspiration in this room and in our community, and it's just a privilege to be able to tell your stories, and that's why I do what I do every day.
All right, let's give it up for Amber. All
I
right.
think you could still be a fashion journalist.
I do too.
I mean, I could, but I really love what I'm doing now, and I don't box myself in. So it's like I will reach out and dabble in different things, but for now, this is what I love doing.
I'm Sherri Coolidge. Sorry about that. I'm the City Hall reporter at the Cincinnati Enquirer. And if you don't know my name, that's totally fine. I hope you do know my work. And that is my mission every day. I get up in the morning and I want to inform people in the city or outside of the city who depend on the city so that they can make informed decisions about their own lives. And that is how I look at my work every morning when I come to work. Did I ever picture myself actually doing this work? No, I did not. I've actually been at the Enquirer for 21 years. I came here when this was a two-newspaper town. I'm married to another journalist, Sherri Coolidge, who actually covers Procter & Gamble, and was very jealous that I was coming here this morning because he was like, he likes to come in here, and that's very rare for him. But we came here. It was a two-newspaper town. He worked for the Post. He works at the Enquirer now. And our goal was to go to a bigger newspaper, and I promised him when we got married that we would do that. He went to Columbia, and we were going to go to New York City. And of course, we fell in love with Cincinnati, because how can you not? And just the news in this town and how welcoming the people are made us stay here, and we're able to do what we love to do. So I'm not from here. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. I'm the daughter of two school teachers, and my brother followed in their footsteps and became a school teacher. But we came from a news-literate household in which we got two newspapers, a morning newspaper and an afternoon newspaper. And I started like everyone else. I read the comics, then I read the columns of like the advice columns, and then I read Mike Royko. And I just kind of built up into reading news much before like many of my peers would read news, and was interested. And I was like, I want to be a journalist. My parents encouraged me. We didn't know that much about what it took. I went to Bowling Green State University and I majored in journalism, and I absolutely chose the right career path. I wanted to be a feature journalist, and I actually did apply at some magazines myself. And on my very first day of work, they're like, "You're the crime reporter." And I was like, "Oh no, that's not what I was hired for." And they're like, "The police reporter quit last night. Have fun." And I was like, I don't know. I grew up in a very nice suburb. I did fall in love with crime reporting. But at a certain point, I took all of the journalism skills I learned there, and I really turned my attention to watchdog journalism. And that is how I got to where I am today.
All right, let's give it up for Sharon. And she's already given me permission to call her Sherri, right?
Everyone does.
All right. So a brief introduction of myself is my name is Danielle Lewis Jones. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I went to college at Florida A&M University, majored in public relations. After I graduated, I moved back to Cincinnati, where I pursued my master's degree, and I got my MBA from the University of Cincinnati. I started my career off at Cincinnati Children's, where I rose through the ranks and to become a senior media relations associate. Then I went to work at Fifth Third Bank, where I was a vice president and senior media relations associate there also, and now I am the head of communications for Kroger's Health division. I used to want to go into broadcast. That's what I thought I would initially do, and then when I learned that working in PR would give me a little bit of experience working behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and kind of tying the two together, I decided to go into public relations. On a personal note, when my son passed away in 2015, I started an organization to help other families who had also experienced child loss, so I am also an advocate, and I believe it strongly in standing up for those and giving people a voice who may not have it or who may not know how to use it. I enjoy community activities. I sit on a few different boards here in Cincinnati, such as Ladies of Leadership. I'm involved with the First Tee of Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. And then I am also on the Family Council for Life Center here in town. And so we are so excited to be here with all of you today and to jump into this conversation. Thank you. All right, ladies, so today we are talking about media presence and commanding a room. Anything from a new business pitch to a media interview. I know that we have ladies in here who are entrepreneurs. We have ladies in here who work in the corporate sector. We have ladies who work in the nonprofit sector. So what is your advice for presenting with confidence?
You want me to start?
Absolutely.
So I'm a klutz. Did you see me drop multiple things? It's okay. I know that we'll talk a lot about what to say, how to say it. But one of the things I want to focus on, even though I'm the biggest klutz in this entire room, is the way you say it, your visual performance. And we'll interview people lots of times, back me up here, girls, where they're moving in their chairs because they're rocking and they're talking and because this makes them comfortable and this is soothing for them. Try not to do that. If you can, sit forward. It shows engagement. Give people your eye contact. Talk to them. And don't move too much because it's exhausting to the eye. And if you're looking through a lens, so Maddie Schmidt back there is one of our photographers, she can tell you, back me up, Maddie, if you're moving all over, they're moving with you. And so it's hard for the audience to look at that. It is hard for the person interviewing you. So think about your presence in that way. On television, if you're going to do a television interview or if you're going to be in front of people, a wild outfit may be gorgeous, but may not be the best thing for you. I look like I'm maybe going to a funeral today, but it's clean, it's professional. Look at this gorgeous girl. Look at everybody here. And there's color, which I think is really important. I think it's very important that we have color, even though I am completely colorless today. But if you had something on that was so distracting to the eye, it takes away from your messaging. And what you want to do is get that message out as clearly as possible so that people can hear you and engage with you.
Absolutely. Amber?
For me, I would say go in and be yourself. You know, be your true, authentic self and take confidence in that. I know when I'm doing interviews, sometimes people will say, I'm nervous, I don't know what to say. And I say, I'm here to learn about you. I said, there is nothing that I can ask you that you don't know, because you're the expert in this. I'm here to learn more about you and for you to tell your story. So I'd say just go in and be your true, authentic self. If you're selling a pitch for a product that you're with or a service that you offer, tell a story as to why that service is so important to you. I mean, what draws you to that? What was your journey in discovering this? That to me, I'm interested in how you came to develop this product, or why is it so important to you? And just share that and be authentic and tell your truth, because at the end of the day, if it's something that you are passionate about, that you truly believe in, no one can really argue and dispute that. I mean, that's your truth. And when people take me along their journey, I'm more intrigued. Like, tell me more. And that's how I think you engage the person and connect with that person. And that should give you confidence in just knowing you're standing in your own truth.
So my biggest advice is to walk into a room with confidence. You've either been invited to that room for a particular reason, so you should have confidence in that, or you believe you belong in that room and you're going into that room because you know you have something to offer. And so take that mindset into the room. And also, once you're in the room, focus on making sure that you're delivering your message. Like, I did practice my elevator speech a little bit today, but because I don't give it all the time, because I am asking people about themselves and I don't typically try and talk about myself. But you want to make sure that you hit all the points and you're delivering the message that you came in there. And don't worry about things like being klutzy or what are other people thinking. As long as you're delivering your message, and hopefully they're thinking about that, people think about themselves. And you go by in a blip in their lives, and people take away from you in their own prism. So they're not thinking, did that person just trip over their words? Did that person say something crazy? Even if they think something in the second, they don't remember it. And they walk away thinking about the bigger picture. And so don't overthink things and have confidence in your messaging.
I do want to add to that. A lot of times, like when you're on TV and you have a moment like, oh my gosh, I said something wrong, or in your
that
world.
That never happens.
Yeah, in your world, you think, oh my gosh. And then you watch back and watch the clip and you're like, you can barely even notice it. So in your head, like, get out of your head. Like, don't trip over things because you think you made a mistake. It's like half the time no one is even paying attention to that. So
you're absolutely right. We magnify our own flaws.
Right.
We magnify every little thing. I see everybody nodding out there. It's true. We think, I just dropped my glasses again. Everyone's going to think I'm the biggest klutz. I am. I'm going to own that. So there's something about being relatable, being human, and being able to make fun of yourself too. Don't take it so seriously. It is a serious thing to get up on a stage or to sit down for an interview or to stand before a board. But it's also okay to be human.
Can you all talk a little bit more about that? Just about being yourself when you walk into a room and being authentic once you get there and why it's important.
We talk about authenticity in our office all the time. It's something that when you're watching, okay, we're on television, she's newspaper, but when you're or online, sorry, when you're watching television, whatever, World News Tonight or whatever it is that you watch, why do you watch that? Why do you like that person sitting at that desk? It's probably because that person is pretty much the better version of themselves. They're not, putting on airs saying, good evening, tonight we have a bit, maybe they're a little bit, but hopefully they're a version of themselves that is polished up, but is still themselves. It's that being authentic, being okay with making a mistake, dropping your glasses, and about 12 other things.
And I would also say just draw from your experience. I know back when there was a mass shooting, it was back in 2019 in August in Dayton, Ohio. I was in Chicago at the time, and there was a mass shooter that went down to the bars and shot and killed 9 people. 17 people were injured. And I got that phone call like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, we need you to come out. And I was like, I'm in Chicago right now, but I can come out. And so I had a field anchor that morning. It happened, I guess, really Sunday morning, and I was there on Monday morning. And when I got there, I knew it was a big story. I knew it was a huge story. But when I came there, the whole street was just lined with all the news stations. Columbus was there, Cincinnati was there, Dayton was there, networks were there. And I'm like trying to find all these bright lights. I'm trying to find my photographer, like, where is he? And so I meet up with him. I'm wedged in between MSNBC, CBS. They're this close to me. I can hear what everyone is saying. And then it's like, I had a moment of like, I've been doing this for 16 years. I was like, oh my gosh, because I watch him on TV. I had a fangirl moment for a second, but it's just like, no, you're here for this story, and you have the moment of you to shake off the nerves. Don't let that take control of you. And I said, look, we all have the same information. The police gave us a police report, so we are on the same level on that. And what I have that they don't have is that I've lived in this area. I've been to this bar. I know this street. And I can draw from my own personal experience that they don't know. They just came from another state and just kind of plopped there. So I have the advantage. So draw from your experience and use the advantages that you have to make yourself comfortable and confident in that situation to be able to do what you're meant to do.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Sherri?
No, these are very good points, because you do find yourself sometimes in situations that you're unexpected, that you don't plan for and you can't practice for, and I had to go to that in the middle of the night because I got up to go to the bathroom, and I was like, why is the politics editor texting me in the middle of the night? He's also sleeping, and the only other time he did that, it was a very huge story, so I was like, should I call him back? I called him back, and I had to go there. But you get in sometimes that so you have to have that confidence and think to yourself that other people are in that same scenario as you at that moment.
I think for me, the best example that I always share about authenticity, and I shared it when I was here last year with the Game Changer. So if there's anyone in the room who was here when I was on the panel last year, I apologize because this is going to be the same story. But I remember when I first started working at Fifth Third, and I'd only been there, I don't know, maybe for like a month or two. And at the time, I didn't wear a lot of makeup. I still don't wear a ton of makeup. But I decided that since I was in this big time corporate role, that now was the perfect time for me to start wearing a lot of makeup, right? So
how much makeup we talking?
Oh, we're talking. Wait,
okay,
you're gonna hear about it.
Good.
Okay, so I'm putting on all this foundation, and I'm taking too much time in the morning, and but I got this corporate job, and I'm here. And at the time, we ended up going through a floor refresh, and so they took out all of the old furniture. They moved us to another floor, and all of the furniture in the office was now white. Well, I'm a brown girl, so I had on my chocolate makeup, and I touched my face through the day. So not to go too far down this path, but I was also one of 2 Black women on the floor. Okay, so I am now touching my face and I'm leaving little marks of Danielle all over the floor.
It sounds like something I would do.
And yeah, and then it hit me. I'm walking back and I'm like, oh, somebody left something brown. There's a smudge on that table. And I was like, oh, it's me. I'm somebody. Okay. I'm somebody. But the point of the story is I thought that because of my new environment that I had to change who I was. And after talking with my boss at the time, he said, I didn't hire you to be like anybody else. I hired you because of who you are and because of what you bring to the table. And for me, it all of a sudden clicked. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went back, and I told this story last year too. I went back to just wearing my Olay moisturizer. I love Olay. So I went back to only wearing my Olay moisturizer, and now I've graduated to using tinted moisturizer that does not leave brown smudges everywhere. But I share that to say that sometimes we are called to places and we've been brought into situations, we've been elevated to roles because of who we are, not because they need us to be anybody else, but because of our experiences, because of our competence, because of our stories. And that helps enhance the place where we are, and that's why people are attracted to who we are, not because we're like anyone else.
Exactly.
And so thank you all.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right, ladies. So in the room, as I mentioned, there are people here from all different sectors, right? So we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this room. How can they leverage local media to tell their story and the story of their local business? And so, Amber, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I would say first, let us know that's what you're doing. Give us a call. Call me, send me an email. I'm always approachable and reachable. And when you're doing your pitch, again, your why. Why is this important to you? How has this changed you? How has this empowered you? How can this help other people, our viewers? And so also I would say in your pitch, because a lot of times I do see a story or a press release that comes our way, and I'm like, oh, I like this story. Let me call this person. I'll call and I'll say, hey, I want to come out. I just got your press release, and we want to come out and do the story. And I'll get sometimes, oh, we're not available today. We can maybe do it next week or next Monday. Be available. Once you send that press release out, be available and be ready to tell your story. And we're TV, we're show and tell. We want to show it. We want you to demonstrate it. And so when you're thinking about your pitch, tell us, think about ways that you can visually tell your story so that it can be shared through the community. And another aspect of that, if you're in we're all busy, so there are times when you really are just not available. When you're sending your press release, send pictures. Add pictures with it, add videos with it, and if you have your own videographer, you want to shoot the video yourself, attach that and say, if I'm not available, you can use this video as well. So giving people options. But I know we keep adding new shows and we keep needing more and more content. So if that is available to us, we will grab it and we will take it and we will thank you. And we will remember you next time, because I know we get in the habit of calling on the same people all the time. Whenever there's whenever we need a story, we need somebody to go into a kitchen, call up that one chef that we did, and we call on the same person. Can we get somebody else? But we know that person is always going to be ready, always going to be available. So just make yourself available.
Sherri?
And share your story.
And so, all forms of media these days are visual, including the newspaper. But when you're sending out your first foray into what we're doing and what you want to tell people that you're doing, do a little bit of research on the organization and who the best person to contact is. I get hundreds of emails every day, which can be very hard to sift through, and they don't all get answered. And so then at that point, if you feel like that I'm the person you want to contact, you do really want to grab me with something catchy that you would think a headline would sound like. And in very short way, don't think of these as long. These are pitches. It's almost like your elevator speech about yourself. These are just initial pitches, but be very clear. I would like you to do a story. This is why I feel like we are a good fit for your community. And I can offer you everything else. All of the background. Make it easy for the reporter. I wish that wasn't the case, but everybody's time is in very short supply. There's not enough of anybody at any station. And so the more help you offer, the more likely you're to get a response in people that are trying to do quick stories. And then I also do encourage everyone to be news consumers, but not just so you know what's going on around in your community. Keep an eye on the news as it relates to what you're doing and what you want people to know, because there's no better story than putting yourself in the middle of a mix of it's relevant at this moment. It goes to something in the national news. It goes to something that's happening locally. You're an expert in something that's really being talked about in this particular news cycle. And so kind of know what's going on. You do need to read national news, because especially if it's going to be localized for here, and what's happening locally. So put yourself in the scenario of what's happening. Like if somebody has a winter story right now, it might finally snow. That would be amazing. But do you have a story to tell about that? And like, does whatever you're doing have to do with the winter? Everybody needs a new story to tell about the winter and the cold, because we all have to tell those stories. And so you're thinking about yourself in that way. That's just an example. But like it could be like the biggest news of the day coming out of City Hall. They're revamping everything that's happening in the city related to something, and you're part of that. And so think of it in context.
Everything they said is spot on. Something that I tell the producers I work with all the time, because in television news, usually the producer is writing most of what the anchor is saying. And I'll say to them, guys, start with, why do I care? Why does the person chopping up onions in their kitchen with the news on in the background for noise, why do they care? Because that is important. So think about that when you are pitching us. Like, hey, this is why you would care, because 55,000 households are going to be affected by this. To her point about localizing something, let's say the train derailment in East Palestine. Maybe you work with doctors who are monitoring air or working with groundwater, something like that. Hey, I've got a great expert for you. And to your point about having experts, gosh, we'll take them. We will take them. You've got a camera savvy person who is a doctor, or any number of things. We will take them. You can send your pitches to me. You can send me an email like, hey, I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure how to tell this story yet. I'll try to help you if I can, but to Sherri's point, I mean, my inbox is a disaster area. They're on me all the time. My co-anchor's like, you have 35,000 unread emails. I'm like, look, back off, buddy. but it's true. So it's got to stand out to me. You've got to say, like in a subject line, I met you at this. Like, help me. Something, otherwise it's going to go right past me, and it still might anyway. But make sure that we can understand what is your story and how you can help us, because also to their point, we're not lazy, we are strapped for time. So if you can tell me that you've got a great story that means something to this community, that community, these groups of people, or maybe it's just an awesome story and I've got a great character. I can tell there's somebody who will talk to you about why this is happening, and they will show you the clothes that they're donating and whatever it is. Help us help you, and we will.
To drive that point home, can any of you think of a really compelling story that maybe you've worked on over the course of your career, doesn't have to be anything recent, and why that story really stuck out to you?
Oh my gosh, how many?
And I know there's been so many, but is there one that sticks out to you, and why? Okay. And why did that story stick out to you?
Well, I worked on this thing. Do you guys remember? A lot of your younger people will not. A long time ago, there was 11 people who died trying to attend a Who concert. Okay, I grew up in Finneytown, which is 4 of the people who died in that situation were from the little community I grew up in. I was a little too young, but my brothers knew those kids. They were in the same grades with them, and they were devastated by it. And so through the years, I got the opportunity someone had called me to a meeting, and I didn't know what it was about. I went and I listened to them, and they're like, we were coming up on the anniversary of this, 40th year. We got to tell this story before it's too late. And so I had the opportunity to talk to the people that survived from that community, the people who lost their family members, in that terrible thing. And then I ultimately ended up talking to the band who had never spoken about it before. And the thousands of emails I got after telling that story about how we ended up making it an hour long, how it had helped heal them in some way, how that had changed them, because even though they were my age and they didn't remember it, but the pain that they felt through their home, and their brother was never right after that, or their sister, they lost somebody in a different kind of concert situation, and that they were healed by hearing those stories and hearing the band say, we're sorry this happened for the first time. That really mattered. I made a difference through telling that story, and I didn't know that I really would. And by the way, it helped me too, because it was something that was unexplained to me from my childhood.
Either of you want to share?
I have a story that hopefully will air today if I can get it done. But I was kind of blown away by this girl. She owns, it's in Covington. She owns a tie-dye shop. It's t-shirts, tie-dye t-shirts. And she is 23 years old, opened up her own shop. And so I went there, I was like excited about that. When I was talking to her, she was telling me about her story. And so I was just impressed that she was 23 and had her tie-dye shop and making t-shirts. And then when I was talking to her, she was telling me her journey. She was pregnant at 12 years old. Pregnant, had her baby at 13. Can you imagine that? 13 years old being a mother. She was living in North Carolina. And so a lot of people, when they think that they have a child, they're like, I'm just going to be a mom. But there's nothing wrong with being a mom, but like they don't have aspirations to do anything else but just take care of their children, because that's a lot to do. And so she decided she was struggling. She was working as a waitress. Her father homeschooled her. She graduated early from high school, went to the Army, and was able to provide a life for her family, get insurance, get on her feet. She got married, came here to the tri-state, and then was a stay-at-home mom and just was on TikTok, doing TikTok videos and just showing her crafting and making t-shirts. And then people were like, I want these t-shirts. I want some of your t-shirts. And then so she said, hey, maybe I should try to open up a shop. And so she was nervous. She's like, I don't know if my followers are going to translate to actual shoppers. And she opened up her store. 300 people showed up, lined up outside the door.
I'm stealing this.
Yeah. And so they're lined up outside the door, and so the ribbon cutting, and it was just, I'm just getting emotional just because like when she was telling me that, I dropped it. I was like, I didn't expect all this, so it's just like, I was just so amazed and floored by her, but she's doing great and she's doing incredible, and that's just, she took me on the journey with her and how she did this, and she's still, this is just the beginning. She's 23 years old. There's a lot of things else that she wants to do, but it was so inspiring to me. It's just like, sometimes it's hard just getting out of bed, going to work. It's like you're doing all these incredible things, but that's the story that will hopefully air today, so you all can see that one. Fox 19.
The 6 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
4
o'clock, yeah.
We all have to watch that now. You might still be here, but I can think of a few things through the 21 years that I've been here. And also, you never know what that story is going to be, because it presents itself as a surprise, typically. I wrote some stories that helped change all of the lead paint laws in Cincinnati, which is a very old city, and children were being poisoned and then re-poisoned because no one was doing anything. And it all started with a simple question. I was covering housing court, and there was a lot of different kind of cases in housing court, but I literally said, why aren't there any lead paint cases? They didn't have to be tons of them. I didn't expect there to be tons of them. I thought there might be some, though, in a very old city. And literally, someone in that courtroom whispered to me, that's because the health department doesn't care, and it's really hard, so they don't do them. And so we ended up suing the health department for all of their records, and we won them from the Ohio Supreme Court, and it led to a lot of changes. And so you just don't know. That came from one whispered thing to me of something I wasn't even doing. But I think the biggest thing that I was able to do came from a breaking news shift and nothing to do with my daily work. I just happened to be working when Leila Alcorn was killed on I-75, and that presented as the suicide of a young boy which we don't typically cover suicides, although if they shut down highways and stuff, sometimes the rules get bent a little bit if it's causing a lot of chaos and people notice what's going on. Every once in a while you do something, but her best friend emailed the Enquirer's inbox and explained what was happening. And typically when you're dealing with minors, that you talk to the parents, and like the parents are the ones, they're minors and you don't really want to cross too many lines there. But the parents, part of the problem was the parents were in denial about what was happening in their family dynamic. And after some very serious conversations with experts in the subject, community leaders, and my own boss, we decided to tell the story of Leila Alcorn against the parents' wishes. And I'm very proud of that story, and I do believe that it really changed the conversation around transgender in this country and in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. I am such a fan of Sherri's work. I'm often like, why don't we have a Sherri Coolidge? She's done so many, I could name stories that I feel like, the Mike Allen affair.
Oh.
I mean, all of the anything big that happened, and especially in government in this town, Sherri's been on it.
Thank you.
So, and Sherri, I worked at Cincinnati Children's when the Leila Alcorn story happened, and we were one of the only transgender centers for children in the nation at the time. And so I remember how that even impacted us. And the reason why I had all of you talk about the stories that happen locally that impacted you is because you carried some important lessons in those stories, right? You talked about how compelling your stories were. You talked about how they walked you on the journey. You talked about how life-changing they were. And I think that the key for everyone in this room is to know that your story matters, that your story is important, that the journey that you've been on to get to where you are hasn't been for naught. It matters. And so never be afraid to share and tell your story. So you all kind of covered the next question, which was, why is it important to stay in touch with local news and issues? But another question that we have on here is, you all are very, very busy women. How do you juggle it all? Is that even possible?
Can I address the previous question? Yeah. So the reason I believe it's important for you to stay in touch with local media is because people trust us more than they trust any other media. We've got CNN over here and MSNBC over here. We got Fox News over here. We just tell you about what's happening locally. Which team won on Friday Night Football? What the weather's going to be tomorrow. Maybe we're going to get an inch. Maybe we'll get a foot, probably, because we're predicting an inch. But we're the ones telling you that the car seat that your child is riding in has been recalled, or the salami you got at Trader Joe's is bad, or whatever it is. So there is a reason. People turn to us because we don't take sides. We shouldn't, I don't think. We try to be extremely balanced in what we're telling you. We're just trying to tell you what's happening in your neighborhood, at City Hall. And so you should pay attention to local news, because while people will say, well, people don't watch TV news as much anymore, that's true. But we're online, we're on social media, we're everywhere that you are looking at a screen. And we are trying to give out the information that you probably need more than you need to know what's happening in New Hampshire right now. Sorry.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. So the question around juggling everything. I know that we've chatted, we've talked, all of you are busy. So do you have any tips on how to make everything work?
I'm a scheduler. I schedule everything from, of course you have your work schedule, then I'll schedule family time. I'll schedule me time, whereas I don't book anything on that day, where it's just I'm relaxing, I'm watching movies, I'm doing whatever I want, and that means don't bother me, right? So, but the thing is, it's just, and the thing is, when I'm 100% intentional to each chunk that I'm doing at that time. So when it's working, I'm 100% at work, giving it everything. I'm not shopping online, I'm not texting other people. I'm focused on work, and then that way, when that time is done, I'm okay packing it up, saying, okay, I did everything I can do today. Now I'm about to give my 100% to my family. When I'm with my family, I'm not checking work emails. I'm not doing any type of work. My phone is off. And then I will kind of do a recap before I go to bed just to make sure I didn't miss anything major. But then, that's that time. And so I don't feel guilt because I know I'm giving 100% of myself to each of the activities that I've committed to. And if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to be there, I'm going to commit to it. And then, just scheduling. Scheduling is my key.
I'm a terrible scheduler. I never know in the morning. Part of the problem is I never know in the morning what's going to happen. I take things week by week or month by month, depending. And I set out some intentions for the week on Sunday nights. I try and take care of myself a little bit on Sunday nights, do some of my beauty things, and think about, in some quiet time, and think about some of the things I need to do in the week ahead, and I hope that I'm going to do them. And then on Friday, whenever the day kind of might end, because Fridays can be shorter than other days, because other days have gone longer, I think whatever time that is on Fridays, I'm like, how much did this match up? And mostly it's not a lot. Because I work all the time. The news does not stop. The internet does not stop where news has to be delivered. City Hall does not stop. They love to do weird tweets and nights and mornings. And so I try and match that up. And whatever got the short stick during the week, and it can be my family, and sometimes it can be okay for my family. I have a 15-year-old and a husband who basically works from home, and so they're pretty good. But do they need me like the next week? Have I given them the short shrift? Have I not spoken to my friends? And they're like, where are you? What are you doing? Or did I not spend enough time with my elderly father who lives here alone and he needs to have some attention paid to him? Whatever got the short shrift the week before, I really try and think to myself, in the following week, we're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to that. And sometimes it does get to the point where I have to tell my boss, hey, I did all of this work and this, and this. And so this week is going to have to be a little bit lighter because I have to pay attention to this and be able to have that conversation with the people who are your supervisors, but not just say, I need to spend time with my family and I need to have work-life balance. Put it in context for them and be like, I did all of these things for you, for the community, and now I have to do these other things or I won't be any good to you.
So there's good, there's best, and I'm going to be like not so good. I wish there were work-life balance legitimately. And honestly, I don't think that it exists in a true sense. I wish I were a scheduler. I tend to look at things in 15-minute increments. Like, okay, in the next half hour, I've got to get this done. The next 15 minutes, I'm giving myself 10 minutes to get this done, that type of thing. But truthfully, I fly like by the seat of my pants. And if it is not in my phone and the calendar, I don't know that it's happening. From the minute I get up, my phone is going crazy to the time I go to bed, and sometimes all night long, about, can you help me find this person? Do you have a contact in this? Whatever it is. Because I'm not just anchoring the news. We have, a group of reporters who don't know who to call at City Hall or wherever. So I'm the best source for them because I've been around for forever. I raised a whole family, and it's true, it's hard. It's just incredibly hard. I would know in my mind, on the weekends, I would plan out what I was going to cook for them. We would have and I would make something on Sunday night that we would eat Monday and Tuesday. Roasted chicken Sunday night, so that we would have chicken tacos on Monday, and then I'd turn that into something else on Tuesday, and then I'd make a crock pot thing on Wednesday. So before I walked out the door every day, something was cooking, so that when they came home, they had something warm to eat. Or when I came home, actually. My kids became very independent. People have asked me, how do you get it all done? I'm like, don't look in my closets. Just don't. It's not a good idea. The laundry gets done once a week if I'm lucky. So I wish I could give you, I hope, especially for the younger women in here, that your work-life balances are better. Because I think I was still part of, or I still feel like I'm part of that, I have to be everything to everyone all the time. I really do believe that. I was the mom who was involved in school, even though I worked full-time, and I, worked full-time, and I'm going to break this story, and I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do this, and climb this ladder, and do this, and do this, and do this, and do this, and ultimately something always fails. Again, don't look in my closets. It's not a good idea. But I wish for more and better work-life balance. I think now that my kids are older, it's so much easier. Although I was discussing with Catherine here a little bit ago. She's like, boy, your boys are grown now. I'm like, they're still, like I'm still peeling them off the floor every day on the phone going, And I'm thinking I have so much to do, but I have to stay involved in this kid's life right now. And I'm looking at like people walking by my desk waiting to talk to me, and I'm like, And I do shop online if I have 5 minutes at work, because damn it, I've got to get it done. So I don't have a good answer, except I just get it done. I just do, and something might slip away. I know I've reached out to friends and said, I'm sorry, I've been absent. I'm available this next week. Tell me when you're available. I will make it happen. And I know you have to prioritize. And I hope for the younger girls out here that you have people who you work with who are better at helping you have a better work-life balance.
So what I take from that is to be 100% present when you are in different places, to try to do a schedule, but to also give yourself a lot of grace. To give,
Well, no, I will not be available.
to also give yourself a lot of grace.
Yeah, you
All
just
right.
gotta forgive yourself, you know?
This is
I think we're
this is,
getting yanked.
do we have the final?
Yeah.
Would you? Oh, this was such a great panel. What we'll do is when we go out here, because the final question was for people to give tips on their elevator speeches. So if you can catch one of these ladies as we're coming off of the stage, as Rachel is pulling us off with the string, you can ask them a couple of questions about their final tips for elevator speeches. But this has been wonderful. Thank you all. This has been great.
Thank you.